Morgantown-AM, David Sunshine. Get it all straightened out now. Talked to Morgantown City Councilman Ron Bain yesterday, and on Tuesday, Morgantown City Council approved an ordinance that prohibits the carry of firearms by anyone other than a retired or current law enforcement officer in city-owned and operated buildings. A little bit different as far as the regulations and restrictions go when you start talking about recreational facilities, but that is the ordinance in a nutshell. West Virginia Citizens Defense League had offered to work with City Council and said, we don't like it, we're not going to support it, but if it comes in line with state code, okay. I don't know if they feel it comes in line with state code. Patrick Moore, not Patrick Morrissey,
Patrick Moore,
is with the West Virginia Citizens Defense League here in town, and he joins us on the program. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, David Sunshine. How are you this morning?
We're doing well. First of all, Patrick, what is the position, or does the West Virginia Citizens Defense League have a position on this type of an ordinance?
In general, we would oppose any ordinance restricting the right to carry a firearm.
What about, and again, I don't want to misquote you, the league or you, but am I right in saying basically if it came in line with state code, then okay, we'll deal with it?
Right. The first draft that accepted concealed carry permit holders from the ordinance, we found that to be an acceptable compromise. The current version, although it restricts concealed carry holders as well, we find in general that part to be in line with state code. However, we have an issue with the airport. But before I get into that, let me say one thing real quick. Let me just read Article 322 of the West Virginia Constitution, as this is a local issue, so let's focus on state rights, and it is the right to keep and bear arms. A person has a right to keep and bear arms for the defense of self, family, home, and state, and for lawful hunting and recreational use. So pay attention to which was mentioned first, and that's why we have an issue with this type of ordinance.
Okay, I want to get to that in a moment, but you mentioned the airport. What's the deal with the airport?
The airport, obviously the sterile areas are off limits. That's federal law. Once you pass through security, obviously you can't have a weapon. But the non-sterile areas are not subject to that limitation. So preemption limits areas municipalities may regulate firearms, and they are specifically enumerated in the bill. And airports are not specifically listed as one of them they are allowed to regulate. Therefore, we feel the current version of the ordinance is not in line with state law.
So the areas you're talking about, the conference rooms, those business areas at the airport, not the terminals where you're actually going through security getting on the plane, but all those other areas that are used on a daily basis.
Yes, any areas you would encounter before you would hit the TSA screening checkpoints.
Hey, Patrick, as you were working through this and as the city has discussed this, was there compromise? Had there been discussion with the West Virginia Citizens Defense League and Council prior to when this was first considered, then taken off the table and then picked back up?
There was an initial consultation, I believe, after the first meeting in December, and to my knowledge, none of the board of directors have been contacted since that time.
Were you all surprised to see what was unveiled this week?
We were. We weren't surprised that they still wanted to limit concealed carriers, but we were surprised at the portion involving the airport.
Talking with Patrick Moore, West Virginia Citizens Defense League. The other, I guess, underlying factor in this ordinance, Patrick, is just personal feelings on the matter. So I want to ask you about that a little bit. If you're in the Citizens Defense League, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess, you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but do you carry?
Of course.
Okay. Why?
Do you keep a fire alarm in your house? A working fire alarm or a fire extinguisher?
As long as the batteries are working, yeah.
Exactly. Just to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You hope you never see that day.
How much training have you had?
A considerable amount.
What type?
From basic pistol to advanced pistol, rifle, shotgun. Invest a lot of hours and money in that training.
So, I guess what I'm trying to drive at here, the fear is and I can't speak for anybody else, I'm just surmising from what I've read, is though that people are going to be walking around, again, George Patton style, ivory handle grips, displaying these, and arguments going to degenerate into some sort of a tragedy. And specifically when we're talking about concealed carry permit holders, I will argue that they are the ones who will take the advanced training, the self-defense training classes, and you will never, ever, ever know if you ever come across one, unless something extremely tragic happens.
Yes, I mean, I think that could be a valid point. I wouldn't want to, make a generalization and speak to every concealed carry permit holder, but maybe it's a general rule. I might be inclined to agree with that.
Patrick, as we talked to Ron Bain from City Council yesterday, we talked a little bit about the discussion about safety. Is this a safety issue? Well, the mayor put that to rest right away. She said this is a safety issue. Ron starts talking about the security measures that would have to be taken, or that he believes should be taken if this passes. Is that something you guys are keeping your eyes on too?
We are. Specifically, I had a thought about Ron Bain and his discussions with you yesterday, and he had mentioned the stickers and the no gun signs. And I'm going to pose a question. It's rather blunt, but it's a question that should be answered, and then take your answer and think about it, and then apply it to this situation. If all women wore no rape stickers, would we see worldwide end of rape? Think about that answer, then follow up that with why so much faith in no gun stickers then?
I get the point. I made this a similar comparison, not as blunt as that, Patrick, that we're wasting a lot of money with the city police department. There should just be a sign at the city limits that says no crime here. The same logic applies. That is a perfect. Sunshine had that as an example. There are signs all up and down the interstate telling you don't go over 70 miles an hour, and that hasn't stopped anybody. Never stops anybody.
Exactly.
So what makes you think an orange sign in a window is going to stop somebody who wants to commit a crime?
Well, what I find sad is, like, the quotes from the article on Metro News yesterday, where Kowicki said, they want to give peace of mind and create a safe atmosphere. And then there's another quote that everyone needs to feel safe. I mean, that was directly coming from the council member. Count the number of times safety was mentioned during all these council meetings. And then think about these 2 points. Jay Redmond had mentioned safety during the discussion at the meeting. And at that point, Nancy Gans called a point of order, that he was out of order because he was talking about safety. So is it really about safety or is it not? And also, if it really is about safety, why are they not going to screen people coming into the buildings?
Talking to Patrick Moore, the West Virginia Citizens Defense League, this morning. Patrick, we appreciate the time and the thoughts this morning, and stay in touch.
Hey, well, learn more about us at WVCDL.org.
Will do. Patrick Moore, West Virginia Citizens Defense League. It was a very blunt comparison there,
yes,
Patrick made, but I get the point. And I liked your comparison there, talking about the interstate, personally.
Well, and then I just assumed that all of the traffic lights would just be